listening to COLTure Uncut.
First of all, I know the Colts were very interested in Jalen Phillips, and they had him matched with Kwity Paye for most of the draft all season. But once the Colts did their due diligence on him and his background, he was off the Colts board. So was Kwity Paye or nothing at that point.
With the 21st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Kwity Paye, defensive end, Michigan.
He got a home run hitter in the backfield, and it only takes one handoff to change the game. He gave it to him, and the rest is history 67 yards later, and that's it. That's all she wrote. Hands off to Taylor. Taylor, big run! He's at the 45, 50, 40, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor, 67 yards to the house!
And here's your host, Jason Spears.
What's up, Colt fans? Welcome back to another episode of COLTure Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears, and today, folks, we're going to talk Colts defense. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of turnover from last year, especially on the coaching staff, as Matt Eberflus left and took most of the assistants with him to coach the Chicago Bears, and I wish him nothing but the best in Chicago. The Colts reloaded their staff with Gus Bradley and also John Fox to help him, and then Richard Smith at linebacker, also Ron Miles with the secondary, and then Nate Ollie with the defensive line. So I really like this defensive staff. I think first and foremost, you've got a lot of experience, and I think that's going to help. I think those coaches will help Ollie especially along the way. But this is the most defensive talent that the Colts have had in a long time, especially up front to back. They've got players all over the field, and I think anything less than top 10, and even I would say maybe even top 5 if everybody stays healthy would be a little bit of a step back to me, because this seems like an uber talented team, and hopefully they can stay healthy. But again, I've tried to tell people this since, Flus was here, and even before him when we had guys like Monachino and Minuski and, even further back, Larry Coyer. I mean, at the end of the day, you can have a great coordinator, but it comes down to players. Offense, defense, it comes down to players. They got to go out there and make plays. You can't inject players with talent. They either have it or they don't. And so, a lot of people blame the coordinator last year. I just don't think we had enough good players on defense. That's just the way I felt, especially in the back end with the, lack of depth at safety. So this year, I do not think we will have that problem. I'm really excited about this staff, but I'm even more excited about this roster. So let's get started taking a look at the defensive ends. I'm going to go through and look at the personnel, go through who I think is going to start, and also camp battles, who's going to be in the battle for positions, who I think can win. Going to be an interesting offseason because I think the competition level is going to be extremely high with these guys because there's a lot of talent on this defense. But obviously you start at defensive end, the edge with Ngakoue, who's been one of the top pressure guys from the defensive end spot in the NFL over his career. Doesn't always show up in sacks, but I will say this. I'm a big proponent of pressure, and this guy puts pressure on the quarterback. Pressure, can force, turnovers. It can also push the quarterback into a situation where he's sacked, loses yardage, or makes bad throws. A lot of things come from pressure. That's pressure percentage is a big thing for me. Not as much, big on sacks. I mean, sacks help, but I like the pressure percentage, and I certainly think that's going to improve this year with a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, who's been very, very good his entire career. So at one spot we got him starting, and at the other spot we're going to have Kwity Paye going into his second year starting. So very good duo of pass rushers and defensive ends and edge players. I think Paye is only going to get better. Having a guy like Ngakoue on the other side is going to help. And then in the middle, very stout up the middle, as you guys know, Buckner, Defoe in the middle, 3-tech doing his thing. A little drop-off in production last year, but he was double-teamed a lot and battled some injuries, but I expect him to bounce back this year and be better. because the guys around him are going to be better. And it's going to take a lot of pressure off him. And then you got Big Grove in the middle, does a good job pressing the pocket, great against the run. I think those are going to be, those 4 starters up front. But going back to defensive end, just going down the list of guys that I have here that I think have a shot making the roster. Obviously, Ngakoue and Pay are going to make the team. Dio is going to make the team. I think you're going to see Dio play a lot this year, make a big contribution, whether that's from the end spot or sliding inside on pass rushing downs. He's just so damn big and fast, physical. He's perfect for this defense. Then you got Tyquan Lewis, who can move around and do his thing, whether you slide him to the 3 technique or play him at the end. He's pretty solid and versatile. He's like a Swiss Army knife, so I really like that re-signing. Then you look at, the back-end guys. You've got, Ben Banigou, who I'm not a huge fan of, and the kid from Minnesota that they just signed, who has a very similar name to Dio Odangbo. This guy's name is Odenigbo, I think. I don't know how to say it for sure, but they signed him from the Vikings, defensive end. I think that's going to be a matchup right there to get that maybe 5th defensive end spot or 4th defensive end spot. No, that'll be for the 5th spot, yeah, because Lewis. Okay, so the 5th spot, yeah, Banigou versus the veteran, and yeah, Ifeadi Odenigbo. I don't know. He played in Minnesota. He's got experience. We'll see what happens. That will be the battle for the 5th defensive end spot. Now let's slide inside and talk, interior D-line. Obviously, Buckner, all-pro caliber player when he's at his best. Stewart's been really, really good. Probably one of the better picks in the Chris Ballard regime. Outstanding young man and a great player. Definitely is somebody that does an outstanding job against the run. Then you look at the backup guys. You've got Curtis Brooks, who I think is a stud. I think he's going to play a lot, be in the rotation. I think he's going to make plays. He was my favorite pick in this draft. I think he's going to be a special player out of Cincinnati, and, I can't wait to watch him play. So I think he's obviously going to be a guy heavy in that rotation. And then the other draft pick that we had, Eric Johnson, I think he's going to be a little bit more raw because of the school level that he's played at, little less experience. But I think he's somebody that has a really good chance of making the roster. And then another guy on the outside, probably looking at maybe he makes the team, R.J. McIntosh. He's bounced around the league a lot. Colts signed him, and I think he'll have a chance, but I think at the end of the day it's going to come down to the youth of Johnson versus the experience of McIntosh to get that 4th DT spot, and I just think it's probably going to be Johnson. I think they really like him a lot. So that's the defensive line, folks, and again, you've got difference makers up and down the defensive line. Ngakoue is a difference maker. Buckner in the middle is a difference maker. I think Pay can be a difference maker, and I think Dio's got the ability to be a difference maker. And down the line, Brooks, man, I really like him. I've raved about him since the draft. I think he was. I liked him 3rd, 4th round. I can't believe he slipped as far as he did. I think he's an exciting player with a motor that doesn't stop and plays with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's perfect for this defense. I'm very excited to see him in training camp and preseason. I think he's going to be a big-time player in the future. I love the way the kid plays. So I think the D-line is as good as it's been in a long time. I like the experience, I like the young players, and I like the upside of what this D-line can do. Hopefully they can stay healthy. We do have a little bit more depth this year, but still you want to see these guys stay healthy and see what they can do. So move on to the linebacker spot. We've already seen Glasgow move on. And obviously Darius is going to start weak side. Bobby's going to be in the middle, and Franklin's going to be at the strong side. Then you got E.J. Speed, who I think has developed into a really, really good linebacker. Our 4th guy, I thought he played really, really good football. An outstanding special teams player along with Zaire. Both of those guys are huge special teams players, and Speed has really come into his own. I thought he played outstanding football against Arizona last year, was a big reason we won that game, and did a good job on Kyler Murray. So I think he's our 4th guy. And then the last two guys that I've really looked at are Sterling Weatherford, who I think from all I've heard, obviously I haven't seen him play, other than obviously in college, but from what I've heard about what he's done in the mini camps, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to play special teams and be a linebacker on this team, and somebody that I think the Colts are going to develop and hopefully will turn into a very good player. He's got great size, great speed, 6'4". I think that's a guy that they're going to look at. Then you've got JoJo Domann, a guy out in Nebraska who played really well. I think he's going to have an opportunity to make the team, whether that's on special teams or, being a linebacker that plays some, rotationally. And then Brandon King, I think makes the team, because he's an outstanding special teams player. So it'll probably come down to Domann versus Brandon King if we're going to keep 6. And I don't know, I think King makes it because he's got experience and he's a very, very good special teams player. He was really outstanding up there in New England. Obviously, New England's had a very good special teams squad for a long time with Matt Slater, and you go even back further to when Vinatieri was there and, Troy Brown and all those guys. They've had a long lineage. Hell, even Bubba Ventrone played there, I think, for a few years. So, they've had a long lineage of really good special teams players, and I think this signing specifically was to shore up our special teams. So I think he makes the team. But if you're asking me, to go with the 6, I think make it. I think Leonard Okereke, excuse me. Apologize, Bobby, if you listen to this. I got to get used to it. Okereke, middle linebacker, Franklin, strong side. Those are the 3 starters, and I think Weatherford, Speed and Weatherford would be 4 and 5, and then Brandon King will be 6. I think and then I think Domann ends up on the practice squad. That's what my guess would be. But really I like what each of those guys brings. Okereke is getting experience and getting better. Leonard is, to me, the best. He might not be the best linebacker in football, but he makes the biggest plays. He changes games, and he's a special player, and he did it last year with playing on a bum ankle with a bad back. So we'll see how he does this year, but he's done it every year. I have no reason to think he won't do it again this year. Then you got, like I said, Zaire's good on special teams. Speed's good on special teams, was really good in the defense last year. Weatherford's got a huge upside. And then Brandon King is a special teams demon. So every one of those guys brings something, an elite trait to the linebacker room. So really excited to see how those guys do. I think Richard Smith's going to have a fun time coaching those guys because there's a lot of speed there, pardon the pun, and a lot of talent. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to the secondary. At one corner, you're going to have Stephon Gilmore, who, when he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 cover corners in the game. Then on the other corner, you're going to have, Kenny Moore when teams are in base offense with 2 tights. I think you'll see him out there. Then when they go 3, I think you'll see, Isaiah Rodgers. I think Isaiah Rodgers starts opposite Stephon Gilmore, and you'll have Kenny in the nickel. And I think that's really, really, really good. I like the style of play that Gus has. I like the pressing. I've never been a fan, and I never liked this with Flus when he would play off coverage. I hated it. I know there's sometimes you have to do it, but I'm a press guy. I want my guys in press all the time. Make those guys fight to get out of position or get out of their stance and get into their route. Make them fight. You know what I mean? And I like that. And I think Isaiah and Gilmore both are extremely good in press and playing that trail technique. Especially Isaiah's. I think Isaiah's a guy that's going to bust out. He's so fast, has great ball skills, and he's only getting better. I thought he was really good last year. So those are the 3 guys that I think are going to start when people were playing us with a 3-wide set. Brandon Faison, I like the signing. I think he's a solid 4th corner. I do think that we're a little thin after him. I don't know what the plan is as far as back end corners. I mean, you've got Chesley, Alexander Myers has some experience. Marvell Tell, then Flowers out of Pittsburgh State. Somebody's got to claim those back end spots. But as far as the top four, I've got Gilmore, Faison. Well, in order, I've got Gilmore, Moore, Rogers, Faison, and then you go into those back end guys. I don't know if they're going to play Rodney Thomas at corner or they're going to play him at safety. I have him listed at safety. So it'll be a battle. Chesley, Myers, Flowers, Tell. We'll see what happens with those guys. But I really like our starters. The depth needs to be a little better, I think. I think we're very raw, inexperienced after our fourth guy. But we'll see. That's why they, play preseason games, and we'll see which one of those guys steps up. I kind of hope it's Flowers because I think first of all, I like that he can return kicks. He was very, very good at it in college, and I think that gives him a leg up on making the team because he's such a great special teams player. But they need to. I think they're probably going to keep 6. So I think they're going to, Chesley, Myers, Tony Brown's another guy from Alabama that's on the roster that might have a shot. So we'll see what happens. Going to be an interesting training camp and an interesting preseason because a lot of these guys are going to get a ton of minutes and a ton of play. So moving on to safety, as we all know, Kari Willis retired, and I don't know if I've mentioned this or made it publicly said anything about it, but I'm really happy for him. He did it the right way, gave the team time, knew what he was leaning towards, gave the team time to figure out what they needed to do to address that position. Obviously, this man cares a lot more about other things other than money, and I have a ton of respect for that. And the Colts will miss him. He was a quiet leader, but a very good player and somebody that you could depend on, and he's going to be missed. I was a big fan of the way he played, and I just wish him well going forward. But as far as this year's team, Blackman's made a miraculous comeback from his injury, so he's going to be starting at the free safety. And then, you're talking about, a vet versus a rookie with, off the charts talent that the Colts traded up to get, and Nick Cross, who I absolutely love from the University of Maryland, my alma mater. So I'm really pumped to see him play versus Rodney McLeod. I think a poor man's Tyrann Mathieu. You know what I mean? I think he's a similar player but doesn't cost as much money. And I like the signing. I think that's going to be a camp battle to see who starts opposite of Blackman. I think if McLeod does earn the spot out of the gate, I think there's a very good chance that Cross takes his spot down the road. Kind of like a couple years ago, I think when it was Kari and who was it? Kari and somebody, and then was it who was that safety that we had? Gathers? I can't remember, but whatever the case, when Blackman came in, he took the spot, and it was Blackman and Kari, and so I expect that might happen this year with Cross. Down the line they make the switch, but he's so young. I think he's 20 years old, and he's very, very he's talented. He can fly all over the field. He's a big time hitter. So he's going to be a major, major factor for us, whether he starts or not. We all know how much Gus Bradley likes to use 3 safeties, and those are going to be the 3 main safeties that they use. And then the other guys that I have here listed that I think are going to make the team are obviously Armani Watts, big special teams player, good special teams player. Not sure how great of a safety he is, but he's somebody that definitely is needed on special teams. We lost George Odom. Zendejo, I don't think really played much special teams, so that's not, and he was not good at safety. So that's not a huge loss, but we definitely needed to replace, our guy George Odom when he went to San Francisco, because we need, to always have good special teams. It's a third of the game, and you can win games with your special teams. So, and we saw that last year with a lot of big plays. So, I think bringing him in is going to help. I mean, bringing Watson is going to help special teams, and if he has to play, he'll play. It can't be any worse than what we ran out there last year at some point. So, I think he'll be the 4th guy, and then Rodney Thomas, again, kind of a wild card from a small, Ivy League school. He's obviously very smart. He'll pick up the defense. I think they can do a lot of different things with him. He can play special teams as well. He played linebacker, corner, and safety in college, so I think he's gonna be an interesting guy to watch on this roster to see how the Colts utilize his skill set. But I definitely think he has a place on the roster, and I like his game. I think it's going to be fun to watch him develop. And it's funny, we've got such a great mix of vets and young players, and it's just going to be an interesting mix. And I think the young guys are going to get tutored well by a lot of these great players, and it's going to be it'll be incumbent upon those veterans to help those young players, because the more they help them, the faster they develop. The faster they develop, the better the team overall will be. So definitely excited about our defense this year. Certainly has the capability to be the best defense we've had here in a very long time. But I've said this a million times. Looking good on paper is not the same as looking good on the field. They got to go out and do it. They can't come out flat this year. They can't allow so many big plays early like they did last year. It's unacceptable, and they have to come out playing good football this year. The first two games are absolute must-wins. You cannot drop a divisional game early to a team that is going to probably be third or fourth. I mean, the Jags and the Texans are the two lesser teams in this division, and you cannot lose either of those games. If you do, you're putting yourself behind the eight ball. We found that out. Both years and lost. In 20, we lost to Jacksonville the first week of the season, and it cost us the division. And then last year, we lost to Jacksonville, and it cost us the playoffs. So 2 losses to Jacksonville have been really big losses and cost us things that we wanted, a home playoff game and then just making the playoffs. So beating Jacksonville is absolutely imperative this year. We all know this. We beat it to death, but it is what it is. Until we win there, it's going to be a problem. So those 2 games out the gate, I think we're going to lean on the defense a lot, and they got to play well. And they should. They've got the talent. So just kind of looking at camp battles. Back end corner, like I said, after the top 4, you've got Chesley, Alexander Myers, who I think played for San Francisco, Flowers, Marvell Tell, who's kind of struggled since the COVID year. And those are going to be, you're getting 2 guys from there. It'll be your 5th, 6th corner, unless we sign somebody. And that's always a possibility. If they want to sign a depth player, that's always a possibility. You just never know. I mean, a guy like T.J. Carey could be re-signed to be the 5th corner. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. But right now, I think it's a battle, that back-end battle between Chesley, Myers, Flowers, and Tell, and I think Flowers has a really good shot because he can return kickoffs, and I don't think Isaiah is going to be doing it this year, so we shall see. The 5th defensive end spot between Banagoo and Odenigbo, I don't know how to say his last name. I think that's a battle. Whoever wins that, I think, will make the roster. I tend to lean towards the veteran, but you never know, and that's another position they may look at, think maybe we need to get another guy in here, some more competition, and a guy that can help to maybe make the defense even deeper. 4th defensive tackle, R.J. McIntosh versus Eric Johnson. I mean, I think really Eric Johnson, unless he has a horrendous training camp and McIntosh has a great one, I expect Eric Johnson to win that position battle. I know the Colts like him a lot. And then 5th and 6th linebacker. I think Weatherford, because to me, it's going to be Okereke, Franklin, Leonard, Speed are the top 4, and then Weatherford, Doman, and Brandon King will fight for the last 3, or for the last 2, excuse me. And I think it's going to be Weatherford and King. I think Doman's going to be the last guy out because I just think King and Weatherford are going to – I mean, Weatherford has been really good, and King is a great special teams player. We've seen the Colts keep great special teams players that didn't really play linebacker too much recently with a guy like Jordan Glasgow, who they got rid of to get King. So I think – I don't know the timeline on that, but I expect King to be on the roster. And if it's down to Weatherford and Doman, I'm taking Weatherford. He's just got so much upside and speed and size, but we'll see. That's why they play the games, and that's why it's fun, man. That's why preseason's fun now. You got the 3 games, the training camp, and you hear a lot of stuff in training camp, but you guys got to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, everybody thought Ben Bannigu was Reggie White Jr. last year because he was playing against Julian Davenport, and we all saw he didn't do anything that last year. So take the training camp stuff with a grain of salt, and just try to watch the preseason games and take what you can from it. But as far as, just going back down the list, just looking at what I expect to see from the Colts, starting, I think you're going to see Ngakoue at one end, and then Pay at the other end, and then Buck and Stewart in the middle. Then I think you're going to see Leonard and Okereke on the field damn near every play. And then I think you're going to see Franklin when it's probably running down or whatever, and you got 2 tights. But when it's 3, it's going to be Gilmore. It's going to be Gilmore, Rogers, and Kenny Moore, and those are going to be your starters. So, and then obviously I think Julian Blackmon starts at free safety, barring any setbacks and injuries, and I think McLeod starts early. But again, that's another battle. I mean, McLeod versus Cross, who wins out in training camp? I know they love Cross, they love his speed, but I think just having the experience McLeod has, I think he's got a little bit of a leg up, but it doesn't matter to me who starts. It's about who finishes, and I think all 3 of those guys are going to be big pieces to our defense and are going to be on the field a lot. So that'll be an interesting battle there, but both of those guys are obviously going to be on the roster and play a lot, but I think McLeod starts early. Cross may end up starting at the end of the year because he's just so damn athletic and just talented. So we shall see, guys, but I really like this defense. I like the coaching staff. I really like the addition of John Fox. Somebody with that much experience can really help take some of the pressure off Gus Bradley and those assistant coaches. He can go around and kind of work with each position group and do a lot of different things. Maybe help out Nate Ollie, who doesn't have a ton of experience. So I really like this defensive coaching staff. I think it's the best one we've had here in a very, very long time when you look at position coaches, the actual coordinator, and then the kind of coordinator emeritus, the guy like, or whatever you want to call John Fox, the senior, coordinator guy or whatever. He's very, very well schooled in defense and different things that offenses try to do, and I just like his years of experience. I think that's going to help this team get to where they want to be, and I think him and working with Gus Bradley is going to be a great match, and I like, just the depth of this staff is so much better than last year. I felt like everything was more on Flus. I didn't, Brian Baker I wasn't a huge fan of. I just think overall this coach, I'm not going to knock anybody, even though I literally just knocked Brian Baker. But outside of him, I'm not going to go through and knock any coaches other than to say that I just think this year's staff is much improved. I think Flus is a great coordinator. We all know that. I'm not going to beat that to death. But I also think that Gus Bradley is every bit as good, and I think he's got just as enough experience, or he's got just as much experience. He's been in big games, been in playoff games, whereas Flus has really, not been in as many big games as a coordinator. So I just like this defensive staff. I like the talent on the roster. Again, I shouldn't talk about the coaching staff so much because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you have on the coaching staff. What matters is the talent. Coaching staffs, coordinators can kind of hide maybe some of your deficiencies, to some points. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the players, it just doesn't matter. Over a long season of 17 games, plus if you make the playoffs, your deficiencies are going to be uncovered, and your players just have to play better. You have to have the talent, and they have to play well together, and they have to play smart, and they have to do all the things that winning teams do, not get penalties, play, error-free, and I think, that's going to be the key. The discipline, can we maintain the discipline that Flus taught this defense? That's one thing you can't say we never had with him. We have to maintain that integrity as far as just playing hard, playing fast all the time. And if we can get that out of these guys, sky's the limit for them. I think they could be a top 5 defense, and if they're anything less than I would be disappointed, to be quite honest with you. So that's my wrap-up on the offense and the defense. I touched on the special teams a bit. I think our special teams are going to be a big plus for us again. Solid kicker, great punter at pinning people inside the 15. Then you're going to have probably Hines returning, I would think, punts, although we had some fumbling issues late in the year. I still think they like Hines returning punts, and I think you're going to see a different kick returner this year because I don't think they want to risk losing Flowers. So I think you might see, I don't think they want to risk losing Rodgers. I think you'll see a guy like Flowers back there who's a really good kick returner in college, or somebody like that. Maybe at Verdell if he makes the team as the fourth running back. But I think you will see a different kickoff returner. But I think our special teams is reloaded. I think they're going to be good. We have there's not a special teams coach I'd take over who we have, and I'm excited, man. I think we're going to have a really good team. Offense, I think, is going to be better than people think. The defense should be really, really good. They're so talented, and then the special teams should continue to be great. So I'm really excited, guys. If you couldn't tell, it's only 2 months away from kickoff, September 11th in Houston. So I'm pumped. And I'll be back soon, man. I don't know what the next video is going to be. Maybe I'll do a poll on my Twitter page to see what you guys want me to talk about. But 2 weeks until training camp, and hell, I'm ready to get going. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. And if you get a chance, please subscribe to my YouTube page. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to slowly but surely get ahead of this technology and figure out, how to do things the right way and not make it look so, amateurish. But, I'm a boomer, as the kids say. I'm 44 and I'm not the most technologically savvy fella. So you're going to have to work with me. But I love you guys. And I can't wait to, interact with you on Twitter and in the YouTube comments. I appreciate everything, that you guys fans do for this organization, and you make this podcast and both podcasts that I'm a part of a lot of fun. So I just wanted to say that. So I hope everybody had a happy, healthy July 4th, and hey, every day that passes is one day closer to Colts football. So I'll talk to you guys soon. This has been COLTure Uncut. I'm your host, Jason Spears. I'll talk to you guys soon.